at Mill Creek Brewery in Nolensville, Tennessee. The Titans are getting set just under 30 minutes away from kickoff in Seattle against the Seattle Seahawks and Russell Wilson. And it's been a very interesting pregame as the Inactives came down less than an hour ago, and several notable names were on the inactive list for the Titans in this Week 2 game that has a lot riding on it because the stats show it's a lot better to make the playoffs when you're 1-1 than when you're 0-2. And last week put the Titans at 0-1. They need to get to 1-1 today. So far, the division is helping them out, but the injury situation is not. I'm Austin Stanley. He's Zach Bingham of A to Z Sports. Our Titan Game Day Live here at Mill Creek Brewery in Nolensville, Tennessee is brought to you by The Mainstay, where our home location is Mill Creek Brewing Co. here in Nolensville, NashvillePowersports.com for your brand new custom golf carts, street legal golf carts, and then BetMGM, the king of sports books. Download the app today. Use our code ATOZ Sports. So, Zach, it's been a crazy pregame because the Inactives came out and the list is as follows. Taylor Lewand out. Jayon Brown out. Anthony Ferkser out. Cam Batson out, not a surprise. Caleb Farley, we knew this on Friday. Derek Roberson, also not a surprise. And then also, so that's three key players in Lewand, Jayon Brown, Ferkser, and a fourth key player was sent to IR midweek in Amani Hooker, the safety. So the Titans already had a tough matchup against the Seahawks. It just got harder this morning.
Yeah, it did. And this is a great. I just want to take a second. This is a great crowd here at Mill Creek Brewing. This is a cool atmosphere. We're going to be here all away games. So schedule accordingly for the rest of the season. It is a great atmosphere watching football all day on a Sunday. You can't beat that. When it comes to the type of football we watched last week, you don't like to see that if you're a Titans fan.
Right.
They got run over in the first and second half by the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray and company, and Chandler Jones. It's going to be another tough test because you just went through the laundry list of the impact players that are not going to be playing in this game. And at the top of the list, it is Taylor Lewand. He appeared to aggravate his knee injury.
Yeah.
And that's never good in the scheme of things for the long term. But Lewand had a redemption story because he played very, very poorly in week 1. He had to come back in Seattle and prove his value, his worth, his salary. Everything was on the line for Taylor Lewand, and he's not going to get an opportunity to do that today. He's officially inactive. So other guys are going to have to step up like we saw a year ago when Lewand tore his ACL. And look, that was a huge moment in last season.
Yep.
The Titans were able to rebound because of that, but it's definitely going to impact today's game.
It will, and I don't know if it's been announced yet who will start at left tackle, but we think David Questenberry will be the starter at right tackle since he started last week at right tackle. And then my guess is not Kendall Lamb. I think Ty Sambrailo is most likely the starting left tackle for the Titans today, unless it's been announced in the last several minutes since we got busy with getting this pregame show set up. I would expect Ty Sambrailo to be the starting left tackle for the Titans today. So it does get harder. But it reminds me of a previous game in Mike Vrabel's tenure as head coach for the Titans. I'll get to that later on. But, Anthony Ferkser being out is important, but his role was kind of limited last week against the Cardinals because Michael Pruitt and Jeff Swaim started as the starting tight ends for this Titans offense in their heavier set. Jayon Brown was also an interesting one, too, because I didn't notice a lot of Jayon Brown last week against the Cardinals. You would think that Jayon Brown would be very important in slowing down Russell Wilson. So now that we've seen the initial injury report and who is out, we want to ask this question to you guys because I feel like
we don't usually do this pregame show.
Yes, this is usually a halftime show, but I feel like a lot of Titans fans were very down on this game heading into it, and I would expect the pregame changes to make them even more down for this game. So let's just ask this question. What is your confidence level in the Titans winning this game and beating the Seahawks in Seattle? What is your confidence level in the Titans winning this game to beat the Seattle Seahawks? They're currently a 6.5-point underdog. The line has not moved, even with the Taylor Lewand injury, which really isn't surprising because that's not typically how Vegas works with left tackles impacting the line. But what is your confidence level, 1 through 10, in the Titans winning this game. Let me tell you the confidence level of you getting a brand new custom golf cart, street legal golf cart.
Very high.
10 out of 10 when you go to nationalpowersports.com. Locally owned and operated in Columbia, Tennessee. Nationalpowersports.com is where to go. A fully customizable. Any part of their golf cart can be customized for you. And here at Mill Creek Brewing in Nolensville, we got one over there.
Yeah.
It's sitting right there. I haven't gone to check it out yet.
Oh, yeah. Well, if
you
you're a Titans fan, it's got lights. It's got logos. This thing is sweet, but you got to come to the tap room to check it out. We'll post it on social media so you get a little preview. But, man, they have tricked that thing out. Kudos to National Power Sports. They've done an incredible job, and they'll hook you up. You'll be cruising around the neighborhood, the cul-de-sac. You'll be cul-de-sac king in that thing.
That's right. Simply go to nationalpowersports.com. This is the National Power Sports pregame show, by the way. So, Zach, confidence levels in the Titans winning this game without Lewand, without Jayon Brown, without Anthony Firkser. Obviously, Lewand's probably the biggest, then Jayon, and then Anthony Firkser in this. I'm seeing a lot of 2.5s, seeing a lot of 4s, a lot of 3s, and then you see Timothy with an any given Sunday type of comment. Zach, how do you feel about this with the new information of Lewand being out?
Well, it's not good, but I think it pressurizes one particular person on the Titans roster / staff.
Okay.
It's the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
That Todd Downing now has so much more pressure on him to make sure the game plan is correct, put Ryan Tannehill in position not to get hit like he got hit last week with Chandler Jones and that Cardinals defense. You got to move him around. You got to be able to roll him out. You've got to do some very unique things. Get the ball out of his hands quick, because if you have Tannehill set back there and get crushed again, it's going to be a long season. It's already an additional game.
Right.
But I think the offensive coordinator, he has got to be better than he was last week. But now, without Firkser, who's a key piece, and Taylor Lewand, there's a lot of pressure on him to not have Tannehill get hurt. Look, Carr's been banged up today. Carson Wentz been banged up today. I mean, quarterbacks have been. Tua got carted off. I mean, this is a man's league. And week 2, you settle in, these guys are going to be coming after him.
Yeah, and Jason asked, is Rashad Weaver playing? Yeah, Dylan Radins is also active for his first game in the NFL. So you trade out a rookie and Caleb Farley. You bring in a couple more rookies with Radins and Rashad Weaver active today. So for me, it's you watched a lot of Seahawks Colts last week, and you saw Carson Wentz getting smacked all game long. The Seahawks have the platoons of pass rushers, and they're going to be coming after whoever starts at left tackle in for Lewand today. I'm expecting it to be Ty Sambrailo. So with Firkser out, now you've got Pruitt and Swain in. Does Todd Downing continue to go 2 tight end sets to help out his 2 backup tackles? Because let's be honest, David Questenberry is not a starting caliber tackle in this league, and really won't. I don't see him being that, but that's what he is right now. But to help out your 2 tackles, having both tight ends to help pass protect and to help in the run game to get this thing going, because you have to make sure Tannehill stays as clean as possible. And 6 sacks last week, they were not able to do that. And so I'm curious to see how that impacts the game plan, even with Lewand playing as poorly as he did. Zach, what is your confidence level in the Titans winning this game 1 through 10?
So I was probably going into this game, I think I would have said 6, because I think that the Titans, in a very weird way this early in the season, their backs are against the wall a little bit. We know the statistic of starting 0-2. You're going to Seattle and expect that place to be wild, like really, really loud. That puts more pressure on who? Which side of the ball? The Titans offense to get the signals in. So audible. Because of Firkser, who you thought was going to come in and impact this offense because of Jonnu's departure in the offseason, he's out and Lewand's out. This offensive line had trouble. I probably now have gone down to a 4.5. I still stand by what I said this week, Austin. The Titans will play better this week than they did in week 1. Now, how much? We'll find out. Is it enough to win? We'll also find out. But I'm probably at a 4.5. I'm not jumping off the cruise ship.
But you're down from a 6.
I'm definitely from a 6 to a 4.5. on the other side of the fence.
The Guru says
Right?
a 4.5. Stop being dramatic. How is that being dramatic? We're talking about like what is your answer there, Guru? Okay, he says everyone calm down. The Titans win guaranteed 27-23. I mean, I don't. From what we all watched last week, it's very confident of the Guru to predict a guaranteed win for the Titans. But I will say this. This pregame situation, Zach, reminds me a little bit of one of Mike Vrabel's most impressive wins as Titans head coach. And I'll talk about that. I'll give you my answer here in a second. We're live in our NationalPowersports.com pregame show. Hit them up, NationalPowersports.com for your custom golf cart. Live here from Mill Creek Brewing in Nolensville, Tennessee. It's a great crowd here. They got TVs, they got great beer, great seltzer, great frozen drinks, and a food truck with their own menu right here inside. So come check it out here in Nolensville. Mill Creek Brewing Co. in Nolensville. Zach, the last time the Titans lost in week 1 was Mike Vrabel's first game in Miami against the Dolphins. It lasted over 7 hours because of all the weather delays. It was also an unmitigated disaster because everybody got hurt. Lewand got hurt. Mariota got hurt.
Knocked out.
Delaney Walker shattered his ankle.
Knocked out.
And the other, who was the other tackle at the time? The right tackle was Jack Conklin was still out from his knee injury. So they go into week 2 against the Texans, who were really good at that time with Deshaun Watson. Now, that was a home game. But Mike Vrabel, I think one of his most impressive wins was week 2, 2018, his first win as a Titans head coach, because he didn't have Mariota. He had 2 backup tackles. He didn't have a star offensive weapon in Delaney Walker, and they ended up winning this game. And it was because a fake punt touchdown pass from Kevin Byard. Really
Ugly win, but a win.
Really good defense and a smart game plan to help the Titans control the game overall. Can they replicate that? Now, there's a massive difference in these two situations.
Yeah.
What do you think the massive difference is?
Who
I mean, you said yeah, but I don't know.
I think I put a ton of weight in Seattle. I put on the road.
Okay.
That's where I put the weight in.
So my massive difference in those two situations is not the road versus home. It's that this just happened pregame. Last time in 2018,
you could prepare.
They had the whole week. They knew exactly what they were getting into. Now, the good thing is you have Ryan Tannehill, not Blaine Gabbert. You still have Derrick Henry. You still have AJ and Julio and the majority of your defense. But you don't have the entire week to prepare where it looks like, and we know they were counting on Taylor Lewand to play in this football game and to bounce back from his atrocious play last week. And so can they adapt on a fly? And because Mike Vrabel was here and did that, could he do that? But you know who wasn't on that coaching staff? Todd Downing. Todd Downing was not on that coaching staff in 2018 because that was when LaFleur was the OC and Arthur Smith was the tight ends coach, and Todd Downing came in the next year. So can they pull that off? It's going to be very interesting and difficult. So, Zach, you're at a 4.5?
Correct.
I'm at a 3.5.
Ooh, that's not good.
But I don't put it past Vrabel. This is the type of game that Vrabel wins, though, right? It's when nobody expects you to win it, Mike Vrabel somehow rallies the troops, the old cliche, and finds out how to do what is a tough situation.
So I'm going to get to my main key of the game for the Titans to win. For us, our confidence level to increase at halftime when we take that test, right? That temp.
Right.
I'll tell you that here in a second. But I believe offensively, this must be a Derrick Henry dominated football game. I think he has to have multiple touchdowns, and that is how you can control the game.
That's not your key for the game.
It is not my key to the game.
Okay.
My key to the game is something else. But I do believe a Derrick Henry-themed game is a recipe to get closer to a W instead of an L. It's your best player. The Cardinals did a phenomenal job of stopping him early. They got the lead, and when you're down 3 scores, you can't use them the way that you want to.
Well, but how do you start the game? Like, do you come out with?
I like screen passes to Derrick Henry. I think that's where a chunk play that you can kind of steal that would I think, disrupt Seattle's defense and their mindset of how to defend Henry. You got to get these guys out in space. They did a very poor job of that. And I tweeted that out at a couple of hours ago. Getting your playmakers in space is how they were so successful offensively last year. A.J. Brown, unbelievable plays. Now you have Julio Jones. Derrick Henry was the same way. That is what they have to do, but this is a Kings game. If they want to win, they have to ride the crown.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. So Chase Teichman on Facebook, on Periscope here says, read his reply to Zach's tweet. So what you tweeted out, a big picture tweet this morning. What was your tweet? I honestly have not read it yet. I was driving back from Atlanta. So what was your big picture tweet about this overall game?
The Titans can't get down early versus the Seahawks like they did against Arizona. Seattle is going to be one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL today. They need to set the tone by running the football with Derrick Henry, find a way to get A.J. Brown the ball in space, and target Julio over the middle. One thing that Julio Jones is so good at is those breaks in his route. It's the separation over the middle where Tannehill can utilize just the essence of Julio Jones. That was my offensive tweet. I'll get to my defensive tweet because that goes to the number one key of the game.
All right. So I don't necessarily think, I think the Titans need to throw early, to be honest. Like, I get your whole thing with, like, run Derrick Henry, but the Seahawks are going to expect that, and they're also going to go in there knowing they can overpower or thinking they can overpower the Titans O-line. And with no Lewand, and you might have Sam Brilo and Quessenberry, and they struggled run blocking. I think you have to spread out the Seahawks and get something going quick to your playmakers on the outside to throw the Seahawks off balance. Because if you just run blitz Derrick Henry, the Seahawks are going to gain confidence. I think you have to spread them out.
But if he gets on that second level, that's a touchdown.
Yeah, but he couldn't get on the second level last week, and the Cardinals defense did a great job. I think the Titans.
So we're on the opposite end of this spectrum. I think a completely different game plan.
Normally I hate when offenses go too horizontal, but in this game, I think the Titans need to start off with some horizontal threats to get the ball outside to loosen up the middle of the defense.
Pound the rock. Ride your best player.
You pounded the rock last week into a brick freaking wall and got nowhere. You got down 17-0. That's what happened.
What happened was Tannehill got sacked and fumbled. The pass protection was poor as well.
So was the run block. Play number one. Derrick Henry's first two carries were from -4.
I understand that, but
he had 9 carries for 8 yards pounding the rock in the first half.
Austin, the philosophy behind getting Derrick Henry involved early is for the fourth quarter to be able to close out a game, because those defenders, and this is Derrick Henry, he hits you over and over and over again. And in the fourth, you don't want to tackle that man. You can't tackle that man.
Again, another stat from last week that I think they have to avoid, because they got so behind the chains on offense, is that it was 2nd and 8 or longer 8 times in the first half. That can't happen.
The pressure is on the offensive coordinator.
All right, so let's get to your key of the game, because you have not mentioned that, but you have the biggest key in your opinion of the Titans winning this game. I'm curious about this, so go ahead and let it all.
It starts with the defense, and it starts with weapon X, which is Russell Wilson. The key to this game will be on Bud Dupree and Harold Landry. Those two players, if they can get pressure from the outside, which helps Jeffrey Simmons, who I expect to come up big again today, and a sack last week, I think he will continue to build on that. I predicted before the season he'll be all pro. I still believe that. But Bud Dupree and Harold Landry have got to get off of the edge and contain Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is a different beast than Kyler Murray. We talked about that this week, right?
They're similar athletes, but they play somewhat different styles. Murray will beat you more with his legs. Russell throws it.
Well, and they got beat because Kyler Murray does such a good job being out of control. Now, fast forward to this week, Russell Wilson does such a good job of being in control. That's where Bud Dupree and Harold Landry have to step up and make him see some ghosts in the pocket. Don't let him get outside. He loves the trajectory of the outside, and he uses the sideline to his advantage. He reaches the ball out for 2 yards.
Yeah.
What Aaron Rodgers does very well is the dummy counts, and then beat you deep. Russell Wilson will get 3 extra yards by just putting the ball out.
Yeah, Roderic's right. Russell Wilson's smarter than Kyler Murray because he's, got 8 years of veteran.
So those two, you paid all that money to Bud Dupree, and Harold Landry's in a contract year. This is where you've got to contain and sack and disrupt Russell Wilson.
You have to always like the offensive line is 5 fingers working as a fist, right, to make it stronger than a slap, right? I think the pass rush for the Titans needs to have the same type of mentality. You almost have to rush so diligently and disciplined that you rush like a net. Because if there's a hole in that net, and if like Landry and Dupree get around the outside, but Jeff Simmons or Autry can't get pushed in the middle, there goes Russell Wilson up that seam. So you have to like rush him like a net to make sure you just keep him in that little area. And it's easier said than done. I don't know if they can do it. But let's go ahead and do this because we got 5 minutes until the game kicks off here. The Titans are wearing their icy whites with the blue helmets, which is not the Stormtroopers. They're icy whites, but we digress. So it is time for our game predictions here on the show. Live from Mill Creek Brewing, it is the NashvillePowerSports.com pregame show. Prediction time. Who wins? The Titans are 6.5-point favorites. Zach, I will let you start.
Oh, man. This is a tough one. And the line, I saw it early in the week at 5. Then I saw it at 5.5. Then I saw it at 6. Now it's at 6.5.
6.5. BetMGM. Download that app. Use our code ATOZ Sports.
I definitely think that you should do that. Oh, man. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be an uphill battle. I think it's going to be – I could see the Titans covering the 6.5-point spread. I would take that. But I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm going 35-31 Seahawks, unfortunately.
Taking the 6.5, right?
Yeah. So I do think that the Titans can get within striking distance. You hope that Derrick Henry is the X factor. He's the difference at the end of this game. I always say really good quarterbacks and really good players can win you games single-handedly by getting first downs, extending the chains, running the clock with the lead, and not giving talented quarterbacks like Russell Wilson opportunities in 2-minute drills with 2 timeouts that need a field goal. Those guys usually come to play, and they usually win those games. I still think at Seattle, I'm struggling with that. Yeah. I think this is going to be very, very loud. Very, very loud.
It's the first time that Seattle's had their full capacity in 2 years.
Right.
Yeah, so I misspoke. The Titans are 6.5-point underdogs. I said favorites, a slip of the tongue there. But the Titans are 6.5-point underdogs. You have them covering. I also have the Titans covering. I think it's 33-27. Seahawks win this game.
So we're both 6. We're both 6 points.
And another good question here. Do the Titans have a kicker? The Titans do have Randy Bullock. Why am I messing up names? But Randy Bullock is the kicker for the Titans today. Elevated from the practice squad after they cut Michael Badgley earlier in the week. They did have a tryout kicker, and they still have Sam Ficken on IR. So Randy Bullock, former AFC South foe of the Houston Texans, is the kicker today. We'll see how he does in his first game. So Randy Bullock, the Titans kicker.
Well, I had 3 tweets today. One was offense, one was defense, and the third one, and finally, they just need a lot of prayer for their kicking game. So I think that's the only way that they can get help.
We have seen the first Titans adjustment from week 1 to week 2. So we're all curious to see how they adjust after getting blown out by the Cardinals. The first adjustment they've made is the Titans won the toss last week and chose to receive. The Titans win the toss today and defer. So the Seahawks will get the ball to start. There's your first adjustment.
Well, Bud Dupree, Harold Landry, go after Russell Wilson, get him to the ground, and get the ball back to your offense early. You cannot get in a hole like you got in last week against Arizona.
Yeah, we'll see you guys right here, same place, same channels you're watching for the halftime show. This has been the National Power Sports pregame show. NationalPowersports.com to check out their custom golf carts for you to ride around the neighborhood in style. Street legal golf carts at NationalPowersports.com. Live here from Mill Creek Brewery. We'll see you at halftime. Enjoy the first half. Thanks.